Okay, so why did Sprite have a crush on Ikaris? It's super straightforward and it's really, really easy. He never abandoned her. Now, what I mean by that is that, for the most part, each and every one of the Eternals was paired off. Ikaris was with Cersei, Athena was with Gilgamesh, Makari was with Druid, Phastos was gay and he had not met Ben yet, and Ajax was essentially Ajax. She was essentially the mother figure for everyone. Now, there are it's a theory, and it's a theory on my end, that I think that Sprite may have hung around Kingo for as long as she did because she may have had feelings for Kingo. But as she pointed out during the movie, Kingo essentially abandoned her. He left her alone in the middle of nowhere and just disappeared and went off to India to do his own thing. And that you can see that betrayal more or less still stung Sprite with the way in which she interacted with both Kingo and Karun. Even though Kingo did apologize, he didn't. His decision to more or less continue filming with Karun more or less pushed Sprite to the point where she didn't even want to be around him anymore. But with Ikaris, he was essentially her leader. He was the person that she could always rely on, who at no points in time ever really abandoned her. Because we see that it's more or less implied that when Kingo left her, she was on her own. She wasn't with Thena or Gilgamesh because they were off in Australia doing their own thing. She wasn't with Makari because Makari was busy zipping around being a kleptomaniac. Druid essentially left and went into exile in the Amazon rainforest. Ajax had her ranch, and we know that she definitely visited Ajax at different times. But with Ikaris, he was the one that she could confide in, she could talk to, she could see, who was always there, who was always a force. And because she lived such a long life, she couldn't form these type of bonds with regular humans. One, she was always in the form of a child. No one would ever be able to understand that she's this 1,000-year-old eternal that's seen civilization rise and fall. By the time she would get into a relationship or even foster a relationship with someone, they would already be going into their teens and into adulthood, and she'd essentially remain the exact same. But with Ikaris, because he was always a constant figure in her life, she was able to grow with him. He understood exactly where she was coming from. The reason why she ended up betraying the Eternals was because, one, yes, her feelings for Ikaris, but the hope that once the mission was over and they left, she would be able to request an adult body from Arishem, and he wouldn't have given it to her, which is one of the more sadder points, I think, which is Sprite really wanted to escape the hell of being a child for 50,000 years, and she was never going to be able to escape it. Of course, she escaped it because Cersei used the remaining celestial energy in the Unimind to turn her into a human. But if she had went back to the World Forge, her memory would have been wiped. She would never remembered her experiences on Earth because those memories would have been taken away and stored into the I'm calling it the source wall because that's what it looked like. It'd been stored into the source wall, and then her form would have been changed and she'd have been sent off on another mission to cultivate a completely new celestial. But that's essentially the reason as to why Sprite fell in love with Ikaris. He wasn't human. He didn't die. He was an eternal. He understood exactly where she was from. At that point in time, Ikaris wasn't with Cersei. He was kind of off doing his own thing. She was interacting with him. She could rely on him. She met him multiple times when she would go to Ajax Ranch. Why did she want to betray her friends? Because she wanted to get out of the hell of essentially being stuck in a human body, in a human 12-year-old body, for another 1,000 years. But this is just a really short video because I know people have like a lot of questions in regards to Sprite, like why did she fall in love with Ajax? Why do I keep doing that? Why did she fall in love with Ikaris? And for what reason did she really betray like the Eternals? Her reasoning was extremely straightforward. She was sick and tired of being a child. Like we see that in the bar scene where she's basically pretending to be an adult and the guy reaches out to touch her hand and he phases right through her hand because it was never a real body to begin with. And Sprite was definitely dealing with depression. I feel as though out of all the Eternals, she was definitely the one Eternal that had depression the most, because she was essentially stuck in a shitty situation for a really long time. But that is the video. Thank you for reaching the end of the video. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you are not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.